All right, let it go. Questions?
Of all the kind of issues the defense has, which is the most troubling to you right now?
Inconsistencies. Right now, we looked better for a couple weeks stopping the run, and then last week we weren't very good. There's been weeks where we've been really good stopping the pass, and then the next week we're not as good as we need to be. So those inconsistencies need to be cleaned up. Execution of scheme continue to be cleaned up a little bit. And I think the biggest thing that showed up in that last game with West Virginia, we didn't compete like we had in the previous weeks.
Why can't you guys get a pass rush going?
I think that we got to do a better job of, putting them in positions to make some plays. Those guys need to get home at times. I don't think it's for a lack of effort by any means. We got to generate more pass rush. And I think, some of it was in years past they weren't expected to. It was a lot of drop 8. And I think that you get into that, I don't know if it's a behavior, but bottom line, we've got to instill better, nasty pass rush mentality. Well, that's when we blitz. That's when we bring 4. That's when we bring 3. We got to do a better job of just getting home. Coverage, for the most part, this year has been pretty good, and it's allowed guys to be close. We just got to quit being close and get home and make sacks.
You said lack of competing. Is that concerning going forward? These guys are kind of not. They're not going to compete going forward.
No, that doesn't concern me. Not after the practice we just had. I don't know what it was. West Virginia. Yeah, I mean, nobody ever wants to have a game like that. But whether it was back-to-back road games or whatever it was, we just didn't compete the way we had been expected to. I thought in Texas, with all the crazy situations we got put in on defense, I thought that was one of our most competitive, toughest games that we had played. And so to come the next week and not play like that was a little disappointing.
You talked on coordinator's corner about the fact you felt like in retrospect, you would have backed off on the guys versus pushing them. Why is that?
Well, as coaches, we're always searching. We're always searching for, was it something in the travel? Was it something in, what we did in the hotel? Was it something we did in practice last week? You're always looking for what that answer was. The only thing I can say, I knew, 7 or 8 of our top guys that had taken tons of reps in that Texas game, and that was a grinder, physical, hot. I just knew those guys were beat down early in the week. We thought we had backed off those certain guys enough, but when they're tired and they look tired at West Virginia, because those guys are tough, then I have to self-reflect on maybe I didn't do a good enough job of getting them back.
Speaking of the run game, does Iowa State remind you a little bit of what West Virginia did and maybe can expose some of the things?
Yeah, I mean, I think Iowa State's tough, but it's not like West Virginia came out and did a bunch of stuff that we weren't expecting. I mean, they ran wide zone and they ran counter. We just didn't do a good enough job of stopping it. I said all along against West Virginia, we were going up against the best O-line in the Big 12, if not the country. That's as good O-line as I've seen in college football for a long time. And they played like it that day. And we did not respond to the physicality and the execution that they played with on the O-line. And give West Virginia credit. I mean, they're good. And I think I looked up a stat. When they rush for 100 yards, they're like 23-7 in their last 30 games. They do that. And every team that beat them scored over 35 points. So, I mean, West Virginia, when they run the ball effectively, they're tough to beat.
Nelson, Haas, Henry Daly, McKenzie, any of those guys going to be available on Saturday?
Nelson, no. Haas, no. McKenzie, no. Daly, no. So.
So are they out for the season? Any of those guys?
No. John Henry could play still. The other guys, it will be probably a while before we get them back. Talon Alfrey has a chance to play this week. So that's when we do think we have a chance to get back.
Jay, I want to ask, you touched on this, but when guys get acclimated to a certain style, and now you come in this year, you don't want to have an excuse use that as an excuse this late in the season. But is there a reality of that as you're trying to get guys to do what you want to do when they've gotten used to over the years doing different things?
Sure. The one thing you'll never see from myself or anyone on our staff is excuses. I'm not going to make excuses. I'll put the blame squarely on myself because it's my job to get these guys ready to play at a high level. And I'll never use that as an excuse. The reality is We got to continue to get better at executing this scheme. It's a complicated scheme. There's been times where we've executed it well, but it's been a little bit inconsistent at times. When we do, we've proven that we can be a really good defense. Like I've said this before, we played Texas as good as anyone's played them this year on defense. We played Kansas as good as anyone's played them this year on defense. We did that on the road in some crazy environments. And so there's been flashes of what exactly we want to see, but it's been inconsistent. And it's my job to get us consistent. It's my job to continue to recruit the right players into this system. And it's my job to get a product on the field that the fans and the administrators and everybody can be proud of.
Does Iowa State, their offense, remind you of anybody you've already faced this year?
Well, I think a lot of the offenses in the Big 12 have some similarities in their run games. They want to be physical. They run the ball maybe a cross between a Cincinnati and a West Virginia. They do a lot of zigging and zagging with their play-action games, and the quarterback's been effective doing it. But, you know, taken as a whole, they're a little different than, I would say, the rest of the teams we played.
How do you deal with, you know, after a performance like that, the being harsh on the mistakes versus the encouragement of trying to get better and, hey, we're better than that, we can improve it next week? I mean, how do you kind of balance those two approaches?
Well, the coaches and the players have to take ownership for what happened, and I take full ownership and responsibility for what happened. I think the players need to too, because if all that's happened is the coaches blaming, then there's no ownership from the players, and they got to take ownership as well. The coaches got to take ownership, and together we got to rebound and play a better game. And I think it's all three phases. It's especially on defense for me because it's what I control. But you'll never hear myself make an excuse other than get back to grinding, get back to working, and try to figure it out.
Any common themes that you found in film eval of the three losses where the margin of the loss was so significant?
On the road against really good opponents where we didn't respond to an early deficit the way we should.
Any other questions? We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Jay.
Okay. All right, guys.
Yeah, right up there.
All right. Never done this actually, so
Trying to throw you off.
yeah.
What was watching film from that last game like?
Yeah, I mean, we watched most of the film actually as a defensive unit, and yeah, it was kind of good. You know, obviously embarrassing to see the mistakes we made, and you know, just flat out physical in most aspects. But you know, it was kind of good to look at it in a different perspective as the whole unit. We were able to collaborate a little bit together. You know, just see things all together and see the bigger picture. But yeah, anytime you have an embarrassing type loss, it's kind of hard to watch film. You know, in years past, sometimes we watch a lot less of it and kind of just move past it. But with this current coaching staff, I feel like they take a good approach to just focus on the things we need to improve and things we need to change altogether, and yeah, just move from there. So.
Jake talked a little bit about how he thought maybe the fight wasn't there, maybe in the second half of this defense that you've had in the past. Why do you think that was?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as a defense, you want to come out and out manhandle the other team every play, every rep. I think the first half we did a little bit better. Second half, I mean, it's just a matter of I heard a little bit of what Jay was saying at the end. We weren't really responding to those quick deficits. Getting out to a 14-0 start in a lot of road games. So it's been kind of a trend for us. But I think it takes a belief as a whole, defensively and offensively, and ultimately as a full team, to just keep fighting. Anything can happen in a college football game. So.
What's the mindset right now as you read for Iowa State?
I think just moving forward, we know we can still reach our goals in certain aspects. We can still get to that bowl game. We can still finish the season strong. So I think, we're always looking forward to the next game. I know, especially for me, my mindset is, I only got 3 guaranteed games left at BYU and for my college career. So I think I just want to make the most out of every game, every opportunity I get to go out on the field, put the best film I possibly can out there. So yeah.
Sort of your BYU career kind of dealt with injury. How have you avoided it this year? Just good luck?
I think a lot of it was, putting on some weight. Currently I'm probably up 17 pounds from where I was at last year, right before I got hurt. So that's obviously played a big deal, important role into just, having that protection and that weight to really just, help you get through each week, especially in a Big 12 schedule. But yeah, I think, playing a little bit smarter. I've gotten a little older. I'm 26, 25 years old, so I think I've kind of had to play that into account. Just trying to, play my hardest and, play as safe as I can as well. So.
You touched on it a little bit, but what would getting to a bowl game, being able to extend the season to next game mean for you personally and just for a group that's going out and kind of wants to go out the right way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this hasn't been exactly the way we wanted our season to go, so I think anytime you have that chance to extend your season, to play that extra game, that's a big bonding moment as a whole for the team. I've been multiple bowl games, and it's one of those things that, it's really just almost like a celebration or a reward for all the hard work we've put. So I think in that aspect, yeah, it's something that we all want to work for. You don't want to play a whole season and not be able to get rewarded with some extra bowl game or, go on that trip. So I think especially as a 6-year senior, I'd love to, finish that strong and be able to play one last bowl game. Take my wife. I just got married, so she's been my girlfriend for the last 2 years, so she hasn't been able to come along. So it'd be nice to take my wife along for the last bowl game as well. So.
Has there been urgency around it? Obviously, you guys got 3 more games, but what's the urgency been like? Maybe Saturday is the time to get going around?
Yeah, I mean, we came out this week. We're coming out. We're taking a different approach to practice. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm still recovering from practice today. I was a grinder, so I think everyone's taken that right approach towards practice. I think that's ultimately where it starts. If you practice hard throughout the week, good things will happen. So I think just trusting that full process of, that in-season week, being smart with it as well. Trusting, our sports scientists, they get us right. They get us the rest we need, as well as, they tell us when we need to push it, especially in the weight room as well. So I think, yeah, we're just trying to follow the plan, follow what our coaches have laid out for us. So,
Max, how hard is it when you've been trained doing something a certain way for most of your career, and then you switch for this year? And I know you've been working on it ever since spring, but is there a challenge as a player to not regress into some of those things that were ingrained for so long and do it differently? Is that a challenge as a player?
No, I think it definitely is. I mean, even the last couple of weeks, I've mentioned it to other guys who have been around for a while. It's just, it's been a learning curve, getting that mindset, going from more of a fit technique defense to, more aggressive downhill, gap sound. So yeah, in a way, it's taken some getting used to, and just in terms of the way our defensive staff is coached compared to our last staff, there's a lot of differences in the way the program is being run. So yeah, especially for me, who's been, with around the same guys, the same coaches for 5 years, it's been an adjustment. But I love them. I see what they're trying to do, and I respect them, and I'm just gonna trust what they have to coach and teach me up. So.
Max, after losses like this, fans begin to question culture, right? They think that there's more love than learning. What would your response be to that? Was there a lot of learning going on after these losses?
I mean, obviously, as the season goes on, and if you rack up more losses, the results of the losses are going to be a lot more detrimental, and things are going to have to change a lot more throughout the week. So I think in that regard, yeah, it's kind of hit us a little bit deeper this week, and we want to never feel that again, that embarrassment. We don't want to let down Cougar Nation, obviously, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, the people inside this building they know what's really going on, and the culture and everything, and I think the culture is great. I mean, haven't noticed a change in culture Maybe there were some games where, we lacked that discipline and that, that really fire out power, just come out of the gates swinging. But culture-wise, yeah, I think Colonia's doing a great job keeping the team together. Us as leaders, we're trying to, do the same within our position groups. So, yeah.
What's the challenge that Iowa State presents? What do you see from them?
They're very, very physical team. A lot of those guys, they come from, I don't know if I want to say farming background, but like you can definitely tell these guys are hard workers. They like to get their hands dirty. They're going to come out physical every play. So in a lot of ways, they're very similar to West Virginia's offensive line. They got some mean guys, good offensive linemen, great running backs, quarterback who doesn't make that many mistakes. So yeah, it's gonna be a big test. There's a lot of things we need to work on, a lot of adjustments we need to make. But yeah.
I heard you got a new NIL deal for Burger. What's going on with that?
Yeah, we've been working on it for a second, but me and Harrison Taggart and AJ Vongchan, we collabed with Backdoor Burger, so we're releasing a little burger. It's not a burger, I guess it's a chicken sandwich with some mozzarella sticks. It's some trial and error to come up with that, but yeah, no, props to Backdoor Burger. Come out on Thursday if you'd like, 7 to 9. We'd love to have you there. It won't necessarily benefit me anymore, but I'd love to meet the fans and whatnot, and just show you guys our creation, I guess. And mostly the owner there, he can take credit for it, but we got to choose between some options, so it's what we came down to. So.
Free burger for the need?
Yeah, no, come through. I got you. Yep, yeah.
Good one to wrap up on
No
your
worries.
advertising.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
ad.
there you
Appreciate
go.
it. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.